All right, so what we are going to do is look at the rhetorical analysis passage. And let's start with the prompt. The passage below is the opening to a speech. I'll get my drawing tool out here before I get too far. I want to note that it's a speech and that it's in 1960 by a journalist and politician, and her last name is Luce, because I will not refer to her as Claire, which some of us are still doing. You don't know her like that. Last name. Where'd my little cursor go? There it is. Two journalists at the Women's National Press Club. In this speech, Luce went on to criticize the tendency of American press to sacrifice journalistic integrity in favor of the perceived public demand for sensationalist stories. Read the passage carefully, then we'll analyze how Luce uses this information to prepare the audience for her message. Okay, and support your analysis of her rhetoric with specific references to the text. With this particular prompt, this context that it provides up here, I understand can be confusing, but really, whenever they give you this task sentence with the then in a well-developed essay, that's usually where they're going to kind of hint at what the purpose is, which is what we talked about, preparing your audience for criticism. I'm going to start reading. I'm going to try to do this with the computer, mark it up. I am happy and flattered to be a guest of honor on this always exciting and challenging occasion. But looking over the audience tonight, I am less happy than you might think and more challenged than you could know. Already there's an example of contradiction, so I'm going to use my ing words and say that she is contradicting her prior thought, obviously. And I'm referring to when she says less happy than you might think and more challenged. She's using the same language that she used right here. She's using, happy. She's using the same thing down here. So that's where the contradiction. It's also parallel structure if I'm going to use the device. I stand here at the rostrum, invited to throw rocks at you. That's a metaphor. I'm going to write that quick over to the side. It's important to keep track of the devices because they usually contribute to a bigger strategy, but I don't want to, when I start writing, just talk about that being a metaphor. You have asked me to tell you what's wrong with you, the American press. The subject not only is of great national significance, but also has, one should say, infinite possibilities and infinite perils, the rock thrower. Okay, so she's kind of making a connection to what she said right here. For the banquet speaker who criticizes the weaknesses and pretensions or exposes the follies and sins of his listener, even at their invitation, does not generally evoke an enthusiastic, no less a friendly response. The delicate art of giving an audience hell is always one best left to Billy Graham and Bishop Sheens. I'm going to look down here. Billy Graham, an American Christian evangelist, and Fulton John Sheen, an American Catholic. Both became renowned for their religious oratory. Oratory is speech. Their speeches were widely broadcast on radio and television. And so essentially what she's saying there is that she isn't going to act like them, but that is an example of an illusion. So I'll write that down because I might need that example as I get going here. But you are an audience of journalists. There is no audience anywhere who should be more bored, indeed more revolted, by a speaker who tried to fawn on it, butter it up, exaggerate its virtues, play down its faults, and who would more quickly see through any attempt to do so. I ask you only to remember that I am not a volunteer for this subject tonight. You asked for it. I guess what I'm developing in this first part is a strategy where she's kind of like we talked about in class, she's establishing her role or her intent. Put that over here. And why I say she's establishing her role, she's kind of, like I said, preparing her audience for the fact that this was something they asked for and that she doesn't take a lot of pleasure in it. So just a way of marking what strategy I'm thinking about. For what is good journalism all about? On a working finite level, it is the effort to achieve illuminating candor in print and to strip away can't get my pencil out. It is the effort to do this not only in matters of state, diplomacy, and politics, but also in every small aspect of life that touches public interest or engages proper public curiosity. little device here. They have the repetition of the P sound. It is the effort. Okay, obviously there's something happening right here with repetition. It is the effort. It is the effort. So definitely some parallel structure happening in that one. It is the effort to explain everything. There again, it's using that repeated E sound too. From a summit conference, why the moon looks larger coming over the horizon than it does when it has fully risen in the heavens. It is the effort, there's that one, to describe the lives of men and women, big and small, close at hand or thousands of miles away, familiar in their behavior or unfamiliar in their idiosyncrasies. It is, to use the big word, the pursuit of and the effort to state truth. I'm kind of noticing right here that she's kind of trying to evoke pride in what they do by talking about what journalism is. So I guess I'm actually going to say that her strategy is defining journalism. And the effect then is that it's evoking that pride from them. No audience knows better. That reminds me of right here where it says no audience. No audience. Okay. Knows better than an audience of journalists that the pursuit of truth and the articulation of it is the most delicate, hazardous, exacting, and inexact of tasks. Consequently, no audience, there it is again. No audience is more forgiving, I hope, to the speaker who fails or stumbles in his own pursuit of it. The only failure this audience could ever excuse in any speaker would be the failure to try to tell the truth as he sees it about his subject. In my perilous but earnest effort to do so here tonight, I must begin by saying that if there is much that is wrong with the American press, there's also much that's right with it. There's another example of where she's using those contradictory statements. So I'm going to use my ing word again because she's contradicting again. I know then that you will hear me. So I know that you'll bear with me, much as it may go against your professional grain, if I ask you to accept some of the good with the bad, even though it may not make such good copy for your newspapers. Going back to the prompt, this is kind of foreshadowing what she's going to be talking about. She's kind of, I'm just going to say foreshadowing for criticism. Okay, so let's put that in there. But the plain fact is that the U.S. daily press today is not inspiringly good. It is by far and away the best press in the world. There she's definitely flattering them as an audience. So from what I see so far, I see a lot of contradiction in the statements she's using. She spends a lot of time explaining to them why she's there. There's a lot of flattery, talking about no audience will be able to do this like you can, and things like that. So let's move to our pre-writing.